Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you've been well. I've been all right. I'm still sick. I've recorded a couple videos now while I'm sick. I don't know what order they're coming out in, so I may have been sick in a previous video. This may be the first video I'm sick. My bad. Anyway, today we're talking about batteries. We're talking about one battery in particular, Jackery HomePower 3000. They sent this unit out to me. I'll get into the specs here in a second, but I'm also going to talk a lot about battery choice, solar power, the realistic uses of the battery for you, helping you decide what one might be right for you. And there's a pretty good argument that this one might be right for you, assuming you don't have one yet, or maybe you have a tiny one, or maybe you have an old one. I don't know, but we're gonna get into all of that in this video. So this right here is the brand new HomePower 3000. It's not out while I'm filming this video. I was actually trying to look up some specs on it, but it should be. I'm guessing there will probably be a lot of videos of this one dropping today because I'm assuming it launched today or recently. So Jackery sent this out to me. I've had it for a little bit. They wanted to sponsor a video in conjunction with the launch, obviously, and this is that video. They wanted kind of unboxing and the normal stint. I was like, I don't really do that, but I can put my own spin on it, and I think you'll be happy. So hopefully they are. So HomePower 3000. This is a 3072 watt hour battery. I think it's the lightest and smallest one of that size on the market. Now, it's not a tiny unit. It's pretty big. It is, let's see here. I could probably gauge this by if I can curl it. Yeah, not perfect form. I am sick, but I don't know the specs. Maybe I'll go and weigh it and throw it on screen. I would guess in the 60 to 70 pound range. So what that means is if you're not super weak, you can lug this around. You could open a car door, a house door, and then carry it without too much effort. But it's not light. It's not like, here's one. This is an Explorer 300. This is literally 10 times the capacity of this little guy. This, if you're looking for something like this, this is not gonna be it. But this may fit the bill, and I'm gonna talk about why. So let's just bang out some quick specs here. So on the front, I do like Jackery's simplistic designs. Jackery's have always been lightweight. Honestly, I've been fans of Jackery's for a while. They haven't always been the cutting edge of on spec and paper and that, like everything. They're not always at the top, but they're usually kind of keeping up pretty well. They used to have a goofy handle on the top. The old Explorer, I actually had one. I had one maybe a decade ago, an Explorer 1000 or something with the handle on top. Hated that. All of their ones are flat now, so they stack better. You can put stuff on them. These ones have the handles that fold down. These ones have fixed handles on the side. But they've always been light and they've always been simple, and that really hasn't changed. So on the front here, we have a TT30. This is a 120 volt, kind of an RV plug, 3600 watt total. And then you have your standard household outlets. These are 20 amp, a couple of USB-Cs, which are 100 watt, USB-As, which are 18 watt, your kind of car cigarette port here. And then we have some, your input, AC input here, standard. So Jackery actually hung on to their bricks for a while. I mean, they have a couple generations of just your standard cable. They actually come with these nice orange cables, but they are the standard plug, 3-plug, the back of a computer power supply plug. Pretty much everyone is using this. It's pretty much the standard. So that's nice. If you don't use this one, you could use another one that you have on hand. Just make sure it is pretty thick gauge because it does charge pretty fast. And then we have dual barrel inputs. These are 8020s. Yeah, 8020s, I believe. I don't love that Jackery is using barrels. It's not a proprietary plug by any means, but I would say something like an XT60 or an Anderson is much more popular for the DC inputs. So that's DC, it's a car charger, or most people are going to use solar panels. So if you get a solar panel, a Jackery solar panel, this is a Solar Saga 200, it'll come with the proper cable to plug in there. And actually those panels are pretty good. They're bifacial. which is rad. Their plug here has actually USB inline, so you could charge inline just straight from the panel without needing a device. And then they have the adapter. It's just, again, you can use any solar panel that falls within the proper, voltage and wattage range, voltage and amperage range, really, of this device. You'll just need to adapt the MC4s or whatever down to the 80/20 barrel plugs. So that's basically the system, and it's, again, for the capacity and the power of this thing, it's surprisingly small and light. Part of that is LFP or Life PO4. They're basically the same thing. They're the same thing. Battery technology, which means they're pretty light and they have an insane amount of cycles. You could basically use this, drop it to zero, charge it to 100% every single day for the next 10 years, and this thing would still be chomping away at 80% capacity or more. So that battery technology has come a long way, as well as just like no bricks, and the kind of utility of these things have come a lot even in the last couple of years. Jackery's been in the game since 2012, actually. So they're one of the OGs in the solar generator world. So why might this device be good for you? Because it's got a pretty good amount of capacity and still a relatively portable thing that you could take camping, you could take to the park. Maybe you want to take a bounce house to a park for a birthday party, but you don't want a loud gas generator. This will be able to handle that. Maybe you want something to run your fridge or a CPAP machine or something in a 24 to 48 or 72 hour power outage. This is going to be the one to do that. And then maybe you just want one unit. You're like, I just want to take it for an overnight camping trip to power some stuff. This would be on the big end for that, but it could certainly do it if you could handle the weight and you had enough room for it. It's not all that much heavier or all that much bigger than like a 1,000-watt unit. So it's kind of a do everything unit. Is it going to back up your entire house? No, not really. But again, you could plug a little RV into the side of it. A lot of RVs are 30 amp 120s, so it could actually handle that. So now let's talk about some details, some use cases maybe. Maybe you want to use this as a UPS. You can use it as a UPS, an uninterruptible power supply. I believe it has like a 20 millisecond response time. So if you left this plugged into the wall and then you plugged in your computer or your server or your refrigerator or whatever into this, now it's acting like a UPS. Power goes out, this powers your device like the power never went off. And say a lot of times power goes off and maybe for 12 hours and then comes back on for an hour. They're kind of working on it and then it goes off again for another 24 hours. And I've had power outages like that. Sometimes they're just off, but sometimes they kind of kick on for an hour or two and then they go back off for some time and then kick on. And then in that scenario, I believe it charges to full in just over 2 hours, like 2.2 hours or something, just off of a standard household outlet, which for the size of this unit is pretty impressive. So in a scenario like that, it could work really well. So I had a scenario, I was like, what is the most common thing that somebody would want to do with a battery in a power outage that maybe this would be better than a gas generator? Now, a gas generator is better in the sense that you can just fill it with gas. And if you have enough gas on hand, you can just keep on filling it. But a gas generator, if you want to power, say you want to power a CPAP, it's very inconvenient for, assuming you don't have a generator that's backing up your whole house, right? You're just plugging an extension cord into it. It's loud, there's certain run times, your neighbors hear it, it's annoying. So if you want to run a device that you're needing to run constantly, generators aren't great. Now, if you're wanting to just power something for an hour and then turn it off for 10 hours and power something for an hour, generators are pretty good. A generator actually is a great way to charge this. This, depending on the load, you could just have this on 24 hours a day, and assuming you don't have solar panels, just kick on your generator to charge it an hour or 2 hours a day, and then you don't turn on the generator for another 24 hours, and this thing just silently hums along, powering whatever it needs to power. So in that scenario, this actually pairs well with a generator. Now, if you don't have a generator, you want to pair it with something like a solar panel. So again, Solar Saga 200 here. 200 watts is not enough really for a unit like this. So solar, I'll give you a quick lesson in solar. I got 10 kilowatts of solar on the roof going into a 54 kilowatt battery array that backs up my whole house. I have other play arrays that I have just dicking around with. I got solar panels on vehicles. I use solar panels a lot. I nerd out on solar and batteries actually more than you guys probably realize because my channel isn't dedicated to that kind of stuff, but occasionally it'll pop up. Anyway, solar. So if you have a 200 watt panel, say it's the summer and it's a really sunny day and you're gonna be adjusting the solar panel. The sun, goes like that. So in the morning, you're gonna kind of want to face it that way, and at noon, you're gonna kind of want to face it mostly up, and then towards the end of the day, you want to face it that way. Now, in an ideal world, you'd be out there every hour adjusting the solar panel perfectly to the sun, to track the sun on it. Realistically, you're not going to do that, but maybe you can go out a few times a day and adjust it. So in a scenario where you're able to go out a few times a day and adjust it, you could probably get, again, in the summer, not a ton of cloud coverage, 6 to 8x of your solar panels. So on a 200 watt panel, 6, that'll be 1200 to 8, 1600. So we'll say around 1500 watts out of a 200 watt panel, again, assuming good conditions. You won't get that in the winter or cloud coverage. If you're not out there moving the solar panel around, realistically, you'll get less, 4, maybe 4x. Maybe you'll get 800 watt hours. So that means, say in a perfect world, say we're getting 1500 watt hours out of the 200 watt panel, which you're not usually gonna get. We'll say realistically we get 1,000. This is 3,000 watt hours. So on a 200 watt panel, in a perfect world, you're only gonna fill this a third of the way up. And that's assuming you're not using any power from it. Probably if you're trying to charge this thing, you're using power from it. So 200 watt is not even gonna be able to keep up with the demands probably. But I wanted to test it. So I use the 200 watt hour. I use this and I use it to power my home fridge and then charge a couple devices here and there. Fridge was not in like emergency use. It was just getting water out of it, opening and closing it all day, putting stuff in, putting stuff out. I think we went grocery shopping, so we put some like not fully frozen stuff into so the fridge was working harder than it would in like an emergency scenario. But the 200 watt panel on pretty sunny day, basically I was losing, 30 to 40% capacity a day. So if I started at 100%, by day 3, I was down at like 30%. So day 4 or 5, no chance this thing would die. And again, you could charge it up a little bit and keep going, and depending on your needs, it might be enough, but it probably wouldn't. So I would want to pair more like 600 to 800 watts for a unit like this, realistically, if you were going to use it to power something like a refrigerator, something like that. A little bit of cloud cover. See how we can get this exposure. Yeah, a little bit of cloud cover here. Not fully clear. We're getting some sun here. So the refrigerator is currently running. Looks like it's taking about 373 watts. We have 166 watts of solar going in. Here's the app showing similar information out here. So that's what we have going on right now, and extension cord is going up over top. So it is, as you can see, 1:17 p.m., 88%. We'll see if we can get ahead of it or not. This is going to be an interesting test because I do not know how much energy my fridge just uses in general when it's idle versus running, etc. So I'll kind of monitor this in and out during the day and report back. So here we are a little later. Fridge is using 133 watts. Sun's basically completely behind a cloud out there. Well, can't see because it's overexposed. Dropped a percent overall. All right, a little later in the day, we didn't gain anything on the battery, but we've maintained. So I think to effectively do this, we really need more solar. Here's the panels out here, 90 degrees of what they were earlier because the sun is setting over there. All right, so it is now 6:40. We quit getting sun around 5 something. So we're still at 88%. What's up, dude? And currently using 70 watts. And so we will see how long this goes. All right, so we are at 65%. It is 1:05 a.m. So I think we will make it to the morning just fine, and we'll update then. All right, it's actually 9:22 a.m. Kind of forgot to check in on this thing, but we're at 42%. Hi, bud. But sun's out, so let's hook it up. All right, so here we are about 4 p.m. We have gained a little bit, but not a ton. So what that means, really, for a unit this size, 200 watt panel just really isn't quite sufficient as your only charging source. If you're gonna be depleting this battery at any kind of, real life, I would say, rate. All right, so we are quite a bit later in the day now, 9:30 at night, and didn't charge up that much today, so we're starting the night at 47%. So my guess is we're gonna be pretty close to zero by the morning, but I'm gonna go ahead and take a chance on it and probably check this one more time before bed and pray that we make it to the morning. So here we are. I wasn't super religious with documenting, but we are on the end of the third day here at about 4 p.m. We didn't quite catch up enough again, just on the single 200 watt panel. So I'll talk a little more in depth on this whole setup, but we have gone 3 days, surprisingly, and eventually we wouldn't be able to keep up, or eventually we'd get a cloudy day and just wouldn't get enough sun. Today was kind of cloudy, but it was pretty good most of the day. So yeah. So anyway, what you got to think of is two things: solar, how much solar power you can get into it, and the more is always better, assuming the unit can handle it. Because inevitably you're gonna have clouds, you're gonna have rain, you're gonna not be out there as often as you would like to, keeping up with it. So more solar is better. And then the bigger battery, you really need a bigger battery. If you wanted to power your fridge off of something like this, assuming it could handle the watts, which I think, what is this, 300 watts? I think this can actually almost handle a fridge. But say even if this was a 500 watt, say this could handle 500 watts. This wouldn't be enough to run your fridge all the way through the night to the morning. Even if you got this, even if you had maximum solar going into this, and come 7 p.m. it was at 100%. The capacity of this thing wouldn't be enough to run it all the way through the night. So you need something like this that you can feed it a bunch of power, and then it has enough for you to consume that power through the night without going down to zero, right? And then the next day you can charge it back up again. So in a realistic scenario like that, this is a really good size unit, honestly. Again, it's a little bigger. Like I think a lot of people in the overland camping world are used to the 1,000 or the 1,500 watt units. They're relatively lightweight. They're maybe 30, 40 pounds out of that. And then this, I think, again, is probably 60 to 70 pounds. So you're about double the weight of like a 1,000 watt unit. But this is going to be the unit that, again, solar panel dependent or little gas generator dependent. This is going to be the unit that can also power your fridge in a power outage or grid, a shorter term. Or again, if you have enough solar, this could power some stuff on a longer term grid outage. So yeah, that's the Jackery HomePower 3000. It is a pretty good, just all jack of all trade, Jackery of all trades. It's a pretty good kind of jack of all trade units where it could be portable, it could be a UPS, could power a fridge or a computer or a server or something pretty well. So those are kind of my thoughts on the unit, and I hope you liked it. Again, I think I have an affiliate link and probably coupon code down below. So if you could click those and use them if you're interested in buying it, cool. I'm going to leave you just with one question, and that is, when I talk about these kind of things, I do my own spin on it, and I talk about whatever I want to talk about. But like, what would you like to see in these? I'm not going to do them all the time, but I do them occasionally. What would you like to see? But also, what would your use case be? Like, if you were shopping for one of these, like, what would you be looking for? Would it be one you can take camping? Would that be the primary use, or would it be one that you just kind of have to power your fridge in an outage? Like, what would you be looking for, or what are you looking for in a unit like this? I'm curious because I have so many of them. I just kind of use what I need for the specific task at hand. But if I were buying one, and then honestly, you know, like Jackery didn't tell me what to say, they're not paying. Like, I could say whatever I want. That's part of my contracts. This would be a good unit if I were to only have one. I think it would be something like this. But I'm curious what you'd be looking for. Cool. So I think that's it. Leave me a comment and thumbs up. Get subscribed to the channel if you want. We do preparedness, survival, kind of homesteading stuff, a lot of truck stuff, camping if you're new here. I'd love to have you. Cool. And then, yeah, I've been a little bit out of it this video, but I'm sick, and it's been a long week. I talked about it in another video. I don't want to just keep talking about it, but I'm not sure which video is coming first. But Cooper, my son, was in the ICU for a couple days, and then the regular hospital. He got a viral respiratory infection that turned into some pneumonia. So he was on oxygen. It kind of sucked, and then whole family's kind of had it, and it is lingering. I'll tell you what, Cooper's fine. We're back home. Everything is good. Like, he's pretty much 100%. Now it's Ashley and me who are kind of more sick now. Cool. All right. Anyway, appreciate you watching. Until next time, guys. Take care.